You want to say something about this dive site?
No.
But I would like to say something about this dive site. So this is the DuCoMi beach. DuCoMi stands for Dumaguete Coconut Mills, and this company has this big pier. We're not diving at the pier. You can do that, you have to ask for permission, and you can only do that on the weekend as far as I know. So we are diving on the beach to the left of the pier, and this is a fantastic muck diving site. So this is a Dauin Dive Site, but it's actually in the municipality of Bacong, just north of Dauin. It offers very similar type of world-class, actually the word world-class is totally overused, muck diving. So let's look at the dive site. There is essentially a beach with a few huts, some bunker fishing boats. There is the pier to the right, there's a dolphin, there's another dolphin which is like a pier which is not connected. That's what I mean by dolphin. On the left, in very shallow water, I usually enter there. Then there's seagrass in the shallow waters. As usual, there's a kink at about 5 meters, and the whole area is barren sand with muck. There are usually some bigger fishing boats moored, so it's a good idea to be careful. They usually don't fish. What do we see? We see a lot of fantastic muck, anemones, shrimps, unusual sea urchins. We see tiny little things hiding in the sand. When we look at the seagrass, we see this Sean the sheep nudibranch, which is actually not a nudibranch, it's a sarcoclosan. So this is how the dive site as a whole looks like. It's on the surface, it looks barren. There's some rubbish laying around. So here, this is actually a coconut palm, and it's draped in a discarded net. So, you know, you should not judge this dive site by its wide angle prettiness. So if you then go onto these tiny little things, and you look at these tiny little things in the sand or on around the rubbish, you will find amazing things. You will find amazing things. For instance, you know, there's a large anemone here in the middle of the sand, and all of these anemones are home to shrimps. So inevitably, if you look at them carefully, you will find at least one species of shrimp. And often you will find multiple individuals of each of these shrimp species, which interact in really interesting ways. So it's the usual muck diving site. You need to go slow, you need to look carefully, and then you will find this really stunning tiny organism. So there's another tube anemone in the sand, and it's actually home to 3 different species. There are 2 species of cardinal fish here, and it's full of this sexy shrimp. So these are the shrimp which are orange with white dots, and they would wiggle their behinds all the time. So at this point, I've never seen as many of these in one spot. This anemone must offer something to them, so it was a true magnet for these tiny shrimp. So in terms of the dive site, this is really what you expect. There are really no landmarks whatsoever. You look through the sand when there's a can, a discarded food can, you look into it, you look around it. These tiny pieces of structure usually are home to these macro animals. You look at the anemones in the sand, almost all of them are home to, you know, fantastic little things like this sand anemone with all the sexy shrimp. There is no coral reef there whatsoever. Nobody had bothered to put an artificial reef there. So this is the muck diving sand environment in its purest form, basically, and you will never be disappointed. So I've seen many species of crustaceans. I've seen mimic octopi there, ghost pipefish, seahorses, conventional pipefish. So the dive site never disappoints. To my best knowledge, as of November 2021, there is no diving ordinance in Bacong, so you don't need to pay an environmental fee. Especially as a private citizen, you can, if you're not with a commercial dive shop, you can dive there. And there you really do want to stay off the pier if you haven't explicitly asked for permission and if it's not a weekend. So this is the situation here in terms of the regulations. There is really no danger at this dive site in terms of the currents. Sometimes there are weak currents parallel to the shore. There are ghost nets occasionally, so you want to make sure you don't get entangled. And as I've mentioned, these larger fishing boats, they're usually moored there, they're not fishing. But nevertheless, they might repark, so you should be careful in checking out that you're not near or under a moving vessel. However, this is not a dangerous dive site at all. The max depth where you can see interesting things is about 25 meters. Then that sand kind of tapers out and there's less macro life. These are, of course, the striped catfish. You will see these. Lots of species of cardinal fish as up front. These ropes are very worth checking out. A lot of seahorses, small lionfish will hang out there. These are sand divers, very curious fish. You can see them there in the shallow parts of the dive sites. They will actually, as the name implies, dive into the sand when you come too close. More striped catfish, very interesting to observe and film. This is a really unusual type of school, quite different from schooling sardines or fusiliers, for instance. These mooring blocks, which you occasionally have there in the shallows, they're also very rich often. You can see the sea urchins are hugging them, so that's also something you want to check out. Finally, on the way out, sometimes you see squid. It's really a very rich and very healthy dive site, particularly given that it's very close to a industrial working pier. Now, I hope you enjoyed that and have fun diving DuCoMi Pier.